it was 127,000, I think, that they total. There's 100,000 in one swoop, and then there was 27,000 that they chased down. And so after that, he has a confrontation, right? He actually shows mercy to Ben-Hadad because he makes a treaty with him. All right, y'all are no longer the favorite daughters, huh? Sit thee over there, thou art anathema. My goodness. Man, people think I'm mean. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Anyway, good to see y'all. So here we are, right? And he finds out that Ben-Hadad is alive, right? This is important, right? Because there's this filial relationship between the monarchs. This is not a big area. It would be like the mayor of Austin trying to meet with the mayor of Houston, meeting with the mayor of Dallas, meeting with the mayor of El Paso. Like the distances that we're talking about between many of these countries. And those guys are all idiots, all of them. Even the new one that just got elected in San Antonio. So it's really parallel to the kings in this region right now. They're all idiots. And so they're meeting together. They have some affinity for each other, and he wants, this is the reason it's pragmatic. It's not just that they're weak emotionally and crying and whatever. It's because they expect some reciprocation at some point in the future. They have a pagan worldview. And so they think, well, today my God was stronger than his God, and today we were victorious, but tomorrow we might not be. And if I disembowel this guy, next week they might disembowel me. So it's very pragmatic, right? So they're doing that. It has extended throughout Western civilization, Eastern civilization, this kind of courtesy. Unfortunately, that's not what he was supposed to do. So they make a treaty here. Ben-Hadad in verse 34 of chapter 20 says, the cities which my father took from your father I will restore. Sovereignty, he's not going to kick everybody out, but you're going to get them back. And they're going to pay tribute to you. They're going to pay taxes, and I have a point with saying this, right? They're going to pay taxes to you instead of to me. They're going to be yours instead of mine. And I'm going to let you make streets for yourself in Damascus as my father made in Samaria. That's not an equitable trade, by the way, right? Work with what he's supposed to do. But Ahab said, I'll let you go with that covenant. Now, what am I doing? And with that, he let him go. So this inspires a man of the sons of the prophets. He goes out to his buddy, his neighbor, his friend, and says, acts out a parable. Go ahead and strike me. And they go through. The prophets are great with this, right? I follow an Instagram account called Pastors with Props, and they're all stupid. But the prophets do this, right? They're acting out a parable for the king. And so he does that, and he says, you're going to be struck dead because you didn't strike the enemy of the people of Israel dead. That's going to happen. And we know that that's a pretty much a uniform standard. Saul was held accountable. He lost his throne because he failed to do something similar, right? And so that's not unique. He should have known that. That was an expectation. But guys, pragmatically, it's a really, really bad idea. One of the worst ideas politically that you can have to allow inroads of another nation into your nation. That's terrible. Allowing, like what's going on in LA right now, which could be the whole country if it doesn't get nipped right now. You allow people to wave a flag with impunity for another country in your country, no matter what it is, at any time, right? Then that is going to destroy your nation. That is why God pragmatically did that. God doesn't have any warm fuzzies for Ahab at this point. Ahab is a terrible man, a terrible king married to a terrible, horrible, horrific woman. We all in agreement there? But the nation of Israel is not, the kingdom of Israel and the northern kingdom is not rejected. They're under discipline, right? And so God is trying to preserve them through discipline. He's not trying to destroy them. Thus, Ahab is going to be held accountable for things that would destroy the people, because that's not God's intention. You don't mistake God's discipline for destruction. We talked a little bit about that yesterday at the men's breakfast. So he is held accountable for that. Does that make sense? right? This is a bad idea. You can have the cities back, but he's not trading citizens, right? In the ancient Near East, they should have ejected everybody out of the city that was under Ben-Hadad, but they did not. Just gave him the cities back. So goes through the parable. I think we talked about the parable last week. That the prophet says, "So you spoke in your own judgment." Right? We're used to that kind of prophetic thing to kings. Nathan says to him, "You are the man." Right? You spoke in your own judgment right before the king, and this prophet does that. I like the fact that he's anonymous, right? Because most of the people that are out there having to confront authority figures are anonymous, right, in history. But he goes to his house sullen and vexed. He's sad because he let the guy go and God's holding him accountable. That's good. Sorrow is good. Godly sorrow is good. Righteous action is better. Can we just say that? All right. You just have to do what is right when you can do it. It's good to be repentant and sorrowful when you screwed up, but it would be better to make wise decisions. All right. Any questions or comments about that interaction? The Second Aramaean War, y'all spent your last week in your Bible study time right there, right? So you guys know it better than I do. All right. So we have another parallel, right? That was kind of paralleling Saul, the sin issue that Ahab committed in not destroying this king. Verse 1 of chapter 21 introduces another thing. It came about after these things. So that's just kind of a general stamp, just after. Naboth, the Jezreelite, had a vineyard, which was in Jezreel, beside the palace of Ahab, king of Samaria. Lately, there's been a whole lot of social media traffic about guys that do the thing. You remember the movie Up? You remember the movie Up? Fabulous movie. The best part of the movie is in the first 37 seconds or something, like where they're showing the whole relationship between the two kids growing and all that. But the old man doesn't want to sell his house, and there's high rises all around it. Well, that's been happening for a long time, and people have been making a big deal out of it. One guy even expresses regret, right? But your location sometimes becomes a problem for you. It induces suffering, in other words, right? If you have your old country farmhouse in the middle of what has become the menace of New York City around you, your quality of life is going to suffer, right? So Naboth happens to have a nice vineyard right next to the palace of the king. Should tell you that his life is about to get difficult, right? Because the covenant promise when they entered the land in abundance and obedience, right, was that they would all have vineyards, right, that they didn't plant. It takes 35, 40, 50